Blessed to be with you. Kevin Mill in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Congress back in session. Let's get the latest from Rachel Sutherland, Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio. She's live at Capitol Hill. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
So here we have it. The gang is back. It's their first day of school. Not really, but we'll keep that theme rolling. Your thoughts on what's first?
Well, probably allocating the budget. Before lawmakers left for the 6-week recess, they were able to pass a budget blueprint. It was hailed as a great thing because it's 2 years. That would be solid funding, increasing spending for both military and domestic programs. But this is a blueprint. So what they need to do is fill it out this month. They need to allocate the money, make sure it's going to the right places. There could be fights over money for President Trump's border wall, and they have until October 1st to get this done. Or it could be some kind of continuing resolution, a short-term fix that we see often that the military hates. And it's a possibility, outside possibility of a government shutdown, depending on who wants to dig in their heels over what issues.
Well, obviously, we have not only the budget, which is the big deal, but this other issue involving the guns and what's going to happen. We had some Republicans saying, well, you either go along with this now or when the Dems get in office, it'll be even more stringent gun proposals that could be passed if Congress has both houses controlled by the Democrat and the White House controlled by the Democrats. Have you been hearing anything like that?
Well, there is concern, I guess, in the future for gun rights activists. But right now what they're looking at is expanding background checks, and that would include things like sales at gun shows and private sales, essentially, and also helping local governments set up red flag law systems if they want it. I mean, several states already have it, where if someone is deemed a threat to self or others, then it's very quickly adjudicated that guns can be taken away, at least temporarily. So I know that Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator Richard Blumenthal have been working together in a bipartisan way to come up with legislation to possibly be able to help states do that. Now, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said he's not going to bring anything to the floor that could be vetoed by the president. And we've been getting some mixed messages from the White House on exactly where the president stands on these proposals. So we'll have to see. I think that Republicans are looking for some signals from the White House as they move forward.
Well, here's the other one. The president of the United States said that he was in favor of red flag laws, and then that was greeted by a lot of folks that didn't agree with that. And his attorney general has said he agrees with red flag laws. That goes really against his base.
It does. I think some in the base are concerned about some kind of run on guns, taking guns away from law-abiding citizens. Certainly the NRA has come out and said that they oppose at least some of these proposals, and the president has had some discussions with the CEO of the NRA, Wayne LaPierre. Even though there's been reporting that the president said he was going to back off some of these things, the president came out and said he had a good conversation with LaPierre and that he really believes they can come up with something everyone would agree with. So it's just mixed signals from the White House right now on this. But I think that there's a lot of pressure on Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, to do something after these latest shootings in Dayton and El Paso, and even the last one in Texas, where the guy went on a rampage through several Texas towns, terrorizing people, killed some people. So people are looking for something. But there is a lot of opposition among people who are really 2A supporters. They don't want to see any changes, really, to existing gun laws. They say that the ones on the books need to be enforced.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Finally, there are like thousands of laws on the books that some would say that aren't enforced. You could say that about immigration as well. Critics have alluded to, when we talk about more legislation, there's a lot of legislation, just doesn't seem to be being enforced.
Yeah, that's right. Or some of the legislation doesn't seem to work. I think that's some of it, too, both maybe with guns and immigration, that people would say, okay, we're not processing these things fast enough. The laws in place aren't working. We need to change these things. And then Congress can't seem to get it done when it comes to immigration reform. Even when Republicans controlled both chambers on the Hill, they weren't able to get immigration reform done. So I'm not seeing that being something they're going to be able to get done this session. I think that when they get back to work, it's going to be all about the budget and possibly trade deals too, maybe some proposals lowering prescription drug costs with that aim. And again, the gun stuff. But The budget will be front and center because they have a deadline they're facing. Again, that's October 1st.
Rachel, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
We've been talking about this, the scooters, right? You heard Maggie's story from Channel 7. We'll go in depth in a minute here at 580-5436. You have Meridian having the scooters. You have people in Boise getting the scooters. And then you have this young man, 28 years old, has to have his mouth wired shut because of these scooters. And I see people going back and forth on the scooters. Now, maybe because they don't make a scooter for a heavy-duty, morbidly obese person like myself. But so many times we hear from the public officials that you need to get out and walk. And, I'd say Boise and Meridian, probably some of the healthiest people around. Hey, I'm going to the foothills. Hey, I'm going to go hiking. Well, good for you. A lot of fit people. So it's a shocker to me that we have, 1, 2, 3 in the city of Boise, scooter people scooting around, the scooter companies. And we already have a difficult enough time dealing with the bicyclists. No disrespect to our friend, the passionate bicyclist of Nampa, Joe Bell. But, really, we've got a challenge with bicycles and motorcycles on the road. Then you throw in the scooters. And now we've got school buses and everything else. By the way, Kyle, I got your email. Yeah, just get rid of the scooters. Do the scooters really serve a public service when we have so many large, rotund people like Kevin Miller that need to walk? Or that, have rascals that they don't need the scooters? Let's take a listen to this. And are we going to have now city governments mandating that if you want to scoot, you've got to wear a helmet?
We know no one.
This is Megan Davis and her boyfriend Jacob Holbrook during a happier time. And this was Jacob just a few days ago.
It will just be a long road. He has his mouth is completely wired shut.
Last Sunday, Jacob was riding an e-scooter when he crossed an intersection in downtown Boise.
There was a car and that almost hit him, and he went to dodge the car, and when he did that, he hit the curb and flew off the scooter.
Jacob was transported to a Salt Lake City hospital for facial reconstruction surgery.
He has fractures on both sides of his jaw. The one side of his jaw was basically shattered into multiple pieces.
But that's not all.
He has some fractured teeth as well, but thank goodness, really, I don't know how, some sort of miracle. It was just his jaw. Nothing in his head was hurt.
For at least the next 6 weeks, Jacob will have to be on a liquid diet. And for the next 5 weeks, he will need to travel between Salt Lake City and Boise for follow-up appointments.
It's hard. Jacob likes to work and exercise and be active, so I think that's probably going to be the hardest thing.
So before we get back to this, here you have this young man on the scooter. And how fast do these scooters go? I don't know, because I don't believe that they can, in fact, carry my big rotund. But regardless of that, the scooters. It started, in the West Coast, started in Portland. I remember a couple of years ago, hey, we've got to have scooters. Now you've got this kid that's injured. And yes, I understand that hundreds of people use the scooters each and every day. He's going to miss weeks of work and everything else. Now, how fast do these scooters go? Do they really need to go 10 miles an hour, 15? I don't know. And yes, we're breaking one of the great rules of talk radio where you don't go on a topic that you don't know everything about, that you haven't researched. However, I feel bad for this kid. I feel bad for his girlfriend. It's great that Channel 7, but can you imagine the expense of facial reconstruction surgery, the expense of going to Salt Lake, back and forth, and doctors here ain't cheap. Doctors in Salt Lake ain't cheap. Nothing's cheap in Salt Lake. Because he saw a car, swerved, hit a curb, and his life has changed forever. Now, there are many people that say, Kevin Miller, I got cancer to deal with. I got this to deal with. This situation could have been completely avoided. Now, whether it's in your city or where you work, you look at these e-scooters, and are they that necessary? And look, this is a guy that takes the mobile sidewalk in the airports. And really it comes down to it. Do we act responsibly, or do we have the government act responsibly for us? Thank goodness that the guy doesn't have serious brain damage because he was on this scooter. Now, you can have the same argument. We need to ban scooters. We need to do this. But are they really necessary except for the profits of the scooter companies?
What makes this road to recovery even harder is the couple just moved to Boise 2 months ago.
Watching someone that you usually can communicate with and not being able to, fully communicate with is hard. It's going to be a long road ahead. I mean, thankfully we have a lot of family and friends to support us.
They now have a message for anyone riding e-scooters.
They're up and coming in the city, and people think it's such a fun thing to ride, which it is. I mean, we thought the same thing, but one little thing can go wrong. I think wearing a helmet is the biggest thing because we're very lucky. So.
And there you have it from our friends, our news partners at Channel 7 at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Look, it's kind of like a remote control. You don't really need a remote control. It's nice, but you don't need a remote control. You don't need an e-scooter. You don't need 3 or 4 companies coming in here, and I'm sure they're lining the pockets of some local official. You know the deal. No ticky, no punchy when it comes to money here in local government, state government, or national government. I don't know. I had a friend of mine last year, what is his name? Dale Jackson, works in Huntsville, Alabama. Great talk show host, great young lion of talk radio. And Dale was telling me, Kevin Miller, I was out till 3 a.m. I go, Dale, you're a young man. You got a beautiful wife, a beautiful baby. What were you doing? Well, I was hanging out with the Breitbart folks, and I almost crashed into a fence going on the scooters. Those things are dangerous. Are they necessary? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, Max in Garden City. That's next. We'd love to hear from you. Join the conversation now. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
I've watched up close and personal what 8 years in the White House is like. And I watched it. And it's not something that I can hardly wait to move in the White House.
There we have it, Joe Biden. We'll get to Joe in a minute. First, talking e-scooters. And how safe do you feel, and should they be banned? How about this? Ban this, ban that. Max joins us now, Garden City. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Max.
Good morning. How you doing, old buddy?
Not bad. I don't think. Well, you're a little svelter than I am, so maybe you'd like to go on one of those scoots.
Well, actually, I rented one. I'm 230 pounds,
Ooh.
and it seemed to handle me with ease. Plenty of pep. But you know what? I don't want to ban them, but I want.
I'm sorry, Max. You're going to have to repeat that. The NSA was blocking that statement. Go ahead.
I want to see these scooters be placed under motorcycle regulation. If you're going to rent it, show a license, a motorcycle license, which shows that you have at least some basic training in operating a two-wheeled vehicle. It means you've got to be on the road like a motorcycle. It means you can get a ticket like a motorcycle. Helmets aren't as important as training.
Well, you're a doctor. What do you make of this poor kid, man? Facial reconstruction, all this stuff. That's
why we
extensive.
call these things donor cycles. This young fella made a mistake in judgment. What are you looking at? 2 very small wheels.
Well, here's another one, though. I don't think there's no mandatory helmet requirement here in Idaho, is there?
No, there isn't. And that's, what's more at issue than a helmet law is training. If you want to go out and buy a motorcycle, you have to take the course, you have to pass the test, written and on the road. So if you're going to drive an electric scooter, all you're doing is you're driving a very dangerous motorcycle.
Well, how fast can they go? 20 miles an hour?
You do like 15, 20.
15 to 20.
And it's not even the speed issue.
On a sidewalk.
Yeah, they're small. Their wheels are tiny. They're unstable. If you're a motorcyclist, you see the dangers right away. If you're, Billy Bob, I'm gonna rent me a scooter today, all you see, and it breaks my heart, is a baby, a young man being carted off to Salt Lake for surgeries. We need to put e-scooters under the same regulation as motor scooters. I think that'll do it.
Max,
Of course, the scooter company's going to go out of business.
well, look, the scooter company, look, they're throwing the scooters in the river. Now, you want to get them banned, never mind people getting hurt. You start polluting the river, you're out of here, Scooty.
In a heartbeat. If you want to get them out, force them out with the motorcycle requirement. That way they can't say that they've been pushed out directly, but they'll go away because I don't know any bikers that want to say, hey, man, let's park the Harley and rent a scooter. Wouldn't that be cool? Please.
Well, I would actually think that would be, you could have like your equivalent to the motorcycle club. You could have the scooter club.
As long as they're licensed, sure.
No, like with the black jackets and everything else, like the Sons of Anarchy.
Kind of like Hell's Grannies terrorizing Ann Miller Park.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Max, thank
I'll
you.
I'll take video. You take care.
Max joining us. By the way, phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, a Democratic presidential candidate wants to get rid of a lot of things in the criminal justice system. First, let's get you to work safely and on time. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. Thank you, Larry. Let's go to the phones. And to Caldwell, Ron, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Hey, Ron.
Good morning. That guy, he should have went to, before he started riding them e-scooters, he should have went to Meridian and taken some lessons from the keto instructor there in Meridian. Then he wouldn't be falling on his face. Again, I'm going to have to go back to if we had viable public transportation, we wouldn't have them scooters, but to have them on the sidewalk at 20 miles an hour. I've hit a car on a motorcycle at 17, and I'll tell you, I did a lot of damage, very little damage to the Volkswagen, but I did a lot of damage to myself, so I don't even see how they allow them on the sidewalk.
I think it's irresponsible, number one, and number two, I will tell you this, I'm the poster boy for walking. Whatever happened to being healthy? And then you have people that they want to go somewhere, and we're all ADD, we're all impatient, and instead of going a responsible speed on these things, they're going as fast as they can with no protection.
Yeah, of course, we know that no one comes out of the bars and gets on one and starts driving around.
That's a very good point.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, do want to remind you, coming up this Friday, we'll be at Nampa Christian High School, promote our schools, secure our future, thanks to our friends at CapEd Credit Union and Team Mazda Subaru. Since 2013, we go to 20 schools a year, and we're still looking for schools. Again, some of our favorites have replied. If you're interested in your school hosting the Kevin Miller Show, whether it's a private school, charter school, whatever school, we would love to hear from you. Simply contact me, Kevin, at KIDOTalkRadio.com. That's Kevin at KIDOTalkRadio.com. And we continue to support education and talk about the good news here in the Treasure Valley. And some of you have reached out to me, and I promise I will get back to you. Did you know September is Suicide Prevention Month? Well, it should be that every month, right? But the Idaho Suicide Prevention Hotline, here's the number, 208-398-4357, 208-398-4357. If you know someone, if you're having doubt yourself, if you're having a rough time, why don't you give them a call? And you've got a qualified person, a great volunteer that will take care of you. They'll get you in the right direction. We love you. We want you to be around. Make that call, 208-398-4357. By the way, it's amazing how many private groups are attacking this issue as well, and we need to keep it up. Coming up next, more of your phone calls, and we will continue to break down this scooter debate. And one Democratic presidential candidate wants to get rid of the death penalty because it's, quote, immoral, discriminatory, ineffective, and a gross misuse of taxpayer dollars. Do you have any idea who it is? We'll tell you next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. And talking about scooters, scooter safety, we've got a young man in the hospital, broken jaw, facial reconstruction surgery. How did he do it? He was driving his scooter, and all of a sudden, boom, car comes in the way, he hits the curb, and his life is changed forever. Do we really need these e-scooters? We survive life without them, right? 580-5436. 580-KIDO. We go to Liberal Steve with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberal Steve.
Good morning, America. Some guy breaks his jaw and they make a big deal out of it because he was on an e-scooter. I had my jaw broken in 3 different places by a baseball bat. You didn't see him make a big deal about baseball bats. Good Lord. I tell you, the world's turning into a bunch of wimps. You know how many kids fall down every day and or how many are rushed to the dentist because they just knocked out 3 teeth riding a bicycle? How many people fall off their motorcycles without helmets on that are too dumb not to wear a helmet, thinking their head is stronger than the pavement or another car? Come on. Don't make a big deal out of it. Let them ride their little e-things and get on with life. Period.
Right. Sure. Now, on the other hand, why in the world do we need these scooters to begin with? All they do is line the pockets of the people that provide us the scooters. And as you know, there are too many large, rotund people. We don't want those. We want to force them out, like myself. So make everybody walk.
Well, that's up to the city, the people of Boise, Idaho, I would think. I mean,
right. We've lived without them for years. Why do we need them now? Why do we need them to be bullying people? If I'm walking down the road and look, as you know, I take up a lot of the sidewalk, and somebody clips me because they're on their phone, when they should be scooting along, not paying attention.
It's just another reason to keep America fat, obese, and no exercise.
Sure.
They can't walk.
Well,
just another excuse, and we can't figure out why we're so fat and why insulin is hard to get.
Oh, no, it's not hard to get. You just go to the pharmacy.
Yeah, for $300, I guess. I don't know. I feel bad for people with that disease. It's not a good thing to have. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make light of it, but come on, America. Like I said, I had my job, and why did he have to be flown to Salt Lake? Don't we have good surgeons here? Couldn't Max have worked on him?
I bet Max would have, but I mean, facial reconstructive surgery, the photos of this young man, he's breathing through a tube. He looks more machine than person.
Yeah, they didn't have to go that far, I'm sure. I mean,
well, what's your medical degree in? Where did you go to medical school?
When my jaw was broke, I'm not a surgeon, but there's a lot of fractures you don't have to fix. You just look a little disfigured or a little disheveled. They mend just fine.
Is that what happened to you?
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
You look okay to me.
The story behind me breaking my jaw, I was playing baseball, a teenager, and I was catcher, and I threw my mask back to catch a foul ball, and I walked backwards right into the warm-up pen.
Nothing to laugh about. Thank you for the call. Brian in Napa with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Brian, good morning.
Hey, I have to say I agree with Liberal Steve on this one a little bit. I too broke my jaw. I was riding a mountain bike. Somebody please explain to me what helmet you can wear that protects your jaw. I back when I was healthy, I used to ride Tour de France bikes, tons, mountain bikes. I don't know of a helmet that would have protected my jaw on my bike.
Well, I mean, you wear a football helmet, maybe.
And you think you're going to be able to see to ride your bike appropriately with a football helmet on?
Depends.
The problem isn't anything other than this guy. And I know this because I've made the same mistakes. He wasn't aware of his surroundings, and he made a mistake, and he paid for it just like I did. And I had facial reconstruction. I know what it's all about. It was the best lesson I ever learned. This. I don't get conservative sometimes. I'm a conservative myself, but I have a very libertarian perspective towards others because you need to make mistakes to learn lessons. Now, remember skateboards? Remember back in our day, Kevin? What was it? It wasn't scooters. It was kids running around on the sidewalks on skateboards, right?
Yeah.
And trust me, I was one of them. I'd go up the side of the wall in my dad's barn, back down the other side. I wiped out so many different times. It was fun. It built character. Do we have rules about skateboards on sidewalks?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. There's your answer. It's not hard. All it is a skateboard with two wheels and a stick, and it's motorized. So I just don't.
Why not get rid of the motor?
You're right. I agree with you. That's probably common sense. It's kind of like some of your callers calling in and say, I'm so sick of these people that are on their bikes that ride on the road. I used to be that kid, but I was a little bit smarter, and I would stay off roads like Karcher. It's a real dangerous road.
I tell you here, I mean, the bike people, God bless them, best to them, but I wouldn't be on the roads with the way people drive around here.
You're right. And if you're going to do something like that, you have to do the same thing you do with a weapon. There's risks. You have to calculate your risk. You have to plan your route. You have to say, okay, is this a more dangerous part of town? I need to be aware of that. It's the same thing with these scooters. If they go 20 miles an hour, okay, you're right. Just like a skateboard. The only difference is one self-propelled and another. I can tell you I went faster than 20 miles an hour on a skateboard. And I can tell you when I broke my jaw on my bike, I was doing maybe 5 miles an hour. So it doesn't take a lot to get hurt. But how much do we want to regulate?
Well, right, but here's the other one. Do we really need motorized scooters?
Do we need cars that go over the speed limit?
Good point.
How much do you want to regulate? Because the more you regulate, the less freedom you have, the less mistakes you made, the less you learn, and the more you get these men.
Okay, but what's the benefit of a scooter?
This guy broke his jaw. He learned a very valuable lesson. If he didn't, it's his bad. Now, did he pay for it? Yeah. But he woke up to his reality. He's like, now he's aware he can get hurt. He's aware that there's consequences for his actions.
But just not. But right. But
he's
just
got to
not
learn how to.
Right, but not just this guy. I'm talking about what's the benefit of everybody except they're lazy and they don't have to walk.
What's the benefit of having a car that goes 310 miles an hour?
My car doesn't. It gets me to and from work safely and on time.
Yeah, but how fast? What's the top speed of your car, Kevin?
Got me.
I guarantee you it's way above the speed limit on the freeway. How much do we want to regulate? Is there ever a time that you're ever going to have to go above 80 miles an hour on the freeway?
Well, in Idaho, yes. Brian, thank you for the call. Appreciate you, brother. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you're just tuning in, we've been talking about e-scooter safety, right? In light of what happened to this young man, 28 years old. Now, all of a sudden, the poor young man is in the hospital, and it's not looking good for him. And people say we need the e-scooters. So that's one topic. Another topic, though, I wanted to share with you. This is a new study. And over the weekend, I was going to do this blog, and maybe I will still do it, called The Endangered American Adult. And there are a couple things going on. There are a couple things going on in our society today. The Wall Street Journal did this article where they were examining adult recess, right? Have you heard about this? Adult recess, where you have adults and they go play kickball and hide the trooper or whatever you do. And there was an article also in the New York Post over the weekend saying Americans have become children demanding dependent, and needy. It seems like being an adult is, I don't know, pretty much an endangered outcome. And this young lady from the New York Post, Maureen Callahan, let me just share with you just a brief thing, because those of you that are listening right now to KIDO Talk Radio, you understand it. It seems our whole life we've become like the real-life version of Seinfeld or The Office or Everybody Loves Raymond and not working. As a population, it's exotic to the point of extinction that it's vanishing in plain sight, the American adult. As a trend, this has been gestating for at least the past decade, from Judd Apatow's glorified babies to men, Leon Dunham's ostensibly grown girls, to the acceptance of adulting into the lexicon. But it truly is happening at an alarming, calcified rate this summer. Take primetime television. This summer was awash in game show major stars Justin Timberlake, Jimmy Kimmel, Rob Lowe, Ellen DeGeneres, Alec Baldwin, Tiffany Haddish, Elizabeth Banks, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Melissa McCarthy, Jamie Foxx producing and emceeing game shows. When it comes down to this, the movie business has changed, Baldwin told Vulture in June. They're going to put up a lot of money, including big fees for Iron Man, and those are tentpole movies, but everything else, the fees in the movie business is collapsing. So you take a look at what it's like to be responsible and to have a job and to pay a mortgage and to support a family. Here's another study. We love men. We love women. We protect the family, right? This from studyfinds.org. Why marriage rates are down. Study blames lack of economically attractive men. So apparently men are, well, I think we're replacing men in the workplace all the time, but that's another issue. That's my own personal belief. Marriage rates have steadily declined over the past few decades, and now researchers from Cornell University are offering up a possible explanation. There just aren't as many economically attractive men for unmarried women as there used to be. Previous studies have attempted to answer why marriage rates are on the decline, but most focus solely on gender ratio discrepancies as opposed to looking to the specific socioeconomic characteristics that make a particular man and a woman a good match. Well, nobody likes a freeloader, right? So what the authors did is they examined recent marriages between 07 and 12 and 13 and 14. They compiled these statistics, examining the financial and socio-demographic characteristics of unmarried women's potential husbands by creating economic profiles. I guess it's about the economy, isn't it? So apparently there aren't enough men that are earning their keep for the women. Quote, most American women hope to marry, but the current shortage of marriageable men, that is, a man with a stable job and good income, make this increasingly difficult, right? Especially in the current gig economy of unstable, low-paying service jobs, explains the lead author, Dr. Daniel Lichter from Cornell University. Marriage is still based on love, but it is also fundamentally an economic transaction. Boy, tell that to Reverend Bill. Many young men today have little to bring to the marriage bargain, especially as a young woman's educational levels on average now exceed their male suitors. What? I thought marriage was when two people fall in love and they figure out through thick and thin, better or worse, to do. Well, now's not a good time to have kids. When is a good time to have kids? But you do it, and you get through it, and you teach your children and their children unconditional love. But according to this study, if the man is not bringing home the bread and he's been replaced by automation, shipping his job to a foreign country, or a female, he's out of luck. Boy, and you listen to some of the Democratic presidential candidates, it's a women's world. So do we exclude men? Do you feel the same way? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Much more on the e-scooters, but this whole study of that marriage, you have to bring something to the table. You're going to have to start doing your due diligence on your suitor or your potential spouse's economic livelihood. Is that what it's come down to? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And don't forget the Idaho Suicide Prevention Hotline, 208-398-4357. talking marriage and economically attractive men. Gloria in Nampa. Good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller. Hello, Gloria.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. As a mother of 2 adult daughters, absolutely, I want them to find a man that has a stable job that can support them in case they need the help. So absolutely, I agree with that study. I've been married for 32 years, and my husband's always taken care of me. So but it worked as well. But absolutely, I think there are a lot of men in this world now that aren't ready to step up and don't step up.
Well, Gloria, you seem to be qualified to give us an example of the state of the American male. What do you see?
I see the younger generations, they're too busy playing their video games and not thinking about what they need to do or how they're going to support a family. My generation, they were already planning on. They already knew they were going to get married. They already knew they were going to have a family. They were already thinking about what they had to do. They don't think about that anymore.
So it's all about the video games?
Yeah. I honestly think that, yeah. I think that's how a lot of their friends, they make them on the computers, on their video games, on their little headsets, instead of going out there and making real friends, real world.
So it's almost like a stunted growth.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so if one of these little boys, we'll just call them little boys, wants to go out with your daughter, what do you say to the little boy?
Oh, no. And both my girls actually would also say no, and they're both not married to this day because they haven't been able to find that man that's willing to help and take care of a family and raise one together.
Well, it seems like, though, we've been, with men, it seems like we're trying to give them the same direction as the dinosaur. They're becoming obsolete because we vilify a man that wants to be chivalrous, that has traditional roles, and then we replace them with little boys.
I will take a man over a boy any day, and that's what I hope for my 2 girls.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Thank you for the call.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. That's a very good point. We seem to have replaced men with little boys. More on that in a minute. First, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. And there we have it. Everybody wants to be a little boy these days. Now, that is not saying that all men want to be little boys and play the video games and vape and be on the scooters. We want men to go out and work. We want people to get it. Young ladies deserve that. But, hearing it from the mom's perspective, that is revolutionary. And, you have little people say, little boys, you either have one or you are one. Now, how do we get them back? Do we just grab them, put them on the bus, ship them out to the ranch, ship them out to the farm, and make them work? And say, look, you've got to produce. You can't live at home all the time, although that sounds appealing to a lot of people. Living at home in the basement, in your room, and how many times do we have the media portraying that? Well, more coming up as we attend to solve the problems of the world before Glenn Beck. Fox News next on your home for Fox News on the radio. KIDO Talk Radio.